want to create a true India. Now we don't have an India. We have a Bharat and we have an India. We have ordinary poor people, which is the Bharat of the villages, and India of the middle class, you see. We have the largest middle class in the world, larger than even the middle class in America or even China. It's a huge middle class, and middle class is one which buys stuff, The market is oriented to the middle classes. And hence our education is also oriented to the middle classes in India. And the middle classes want special kind of education because they have to survive anywhere in the world. At one time, the poor people, to survive in the world, had to do hard work because they went to tea estate, coffee estate, worked there hard and made money. And even people who go to Gulf have to work hard. But now there is another job market where you sit for 8 to 10 hours at your table and at call centers and do your work. It's a very routine kind of, not a very healthy kind of work, and that needs a special kind of education. Now most of our educational institutions try to produce people of that kind, and hence there will be India but there will be no Bharat. For a very healthy society, what is important is that all children should be treated as equal. After we grow up, we are not treated as equal. We can't be treated as equal because one is good in something and another is good in something else, but a child can be anything and it's an undefined state. Then we should give them an equal education. It's a criminal act if you make any distinction among children, because we know that in the world people who have achieved great things, for instance a Shakespeare came from a very ordinary family, Lawrence came from a very ordinary family, but they grew into geniuses, and hence children should not be differentiated. All children are equal. If all children are equal, then they should get an equal education. There are many advantages in it, because how do we children learn? Children not only learn from their teachers, children learn from each other, from one another. They learn from the street. They learn in nature. They learn when they climb a tree. So they learn through their sports, through their games. And sometimes, the poor children who go to poor schools are better in physical intelligence than children of the rich. Even today, people who can sing well, dance well, come from the very poor. And people who are poor enjoy themselves. They make great fun out of their lives. So these children from the poor families have a lot of talent of that kind. And the rich children, if they go to a special school where there are no poor children, who suffer? The rich children also suffer because they don't get the kind of gaiety, joy that they could get from the poor children. Spontaneity, a suddenness, because the children of the very rich are brought up in an enclosed atmosphere. And hence, when I say equal education for all children in common schools, I have not only the poor children in mind, I have the rich children also in mind. It's also good for them to move with children of a different class. What has happened now is much worse. When I was young, I come from a very high Orthodox Brahmin family. But to what kind of school I went? I have said it somewhere, and M.T. Vasudevan Nair in Kerala also said it in a meeting. I used to wear an Angavastram at home. But when I went to school, I used to wear a shirt. And the shirt was not allowed at home because for my grandfather who was Orthodox, shirt was a town thing, a city thing. But I became a writer not in my Angavastram, but in my shirt. Because in my shirt, I sat with a boy of another caste, a Dalit boy, a Muslim boy, were all there in the school. So all our experiences, we shared with one another. And hence, I am a strong defendant of common schools, where children learn from each other, learn from their teachers, at least up to the 10th standard. After they're 15 or 16, I don't mind them going into different kinds of colleges, according to one's intelligence and their inclination. There's something like inclination also. But all this comes into expression only after a certain age. Until then, they are all equal. They are children of God. You see, in America, when Kennedy came, most children, white children, went to one kind of school, black children went to another kind of school. They couldn't have created this America today if the busing was not done. Busing was an act where from the black areas, black children were taken into schools in the white areas, and white children used to be taken in a bus into black areas. They were mixed. If they had not done, do you think that Obama would have been possible? So a society changes only when children mix. But we have created a world in which children of different classes, castes, don't mix at all. They go to private schools. And hence, I am of the view there are certain things which should not be privatized. Education should not be privatized. Because then what happens is this, they are segregated. It is worse than caste system. In a very caste-ridden society, I could mix with all children. But today, in a class society, they go to very rich schools. Like, very rich people, if they want to have a cup of coffee, they don't go to an ordinary coffee shop. They go to a five-star hotel, pay 500 rupees, have a cup of coffee, which may not be as good as the coffee near our house. But why do they go there? They go there so that they are exclusive. So our children are also sent to such schools. So I used to joke, when our girls went to common schools, they came back with a lot of lice in their hair. So lice in the hair was really a problem for the mothers, because they got the lice from the poor children. But at least we know that there is lice in the hair of the poor children, and we begin to think of how to remove the lice in the hair of the poor children, because our children should not get it. So in other words, a school will be taken seriously only if our children go to those schools. Now they don't, and hence all the government schools are of no consequence, because our children don't go. And hence, if there is common school and common education, then it will improve the schools, improve the lives of rich children, improve the lives of the common children, and we will have an integrated country where all classes, all castes have lived together in their growing up. Now they are all separated in their growing up. They may become accountants, but they will not become writers. So we are creating a society of accountants and managers, not even good managers, because they won't know how to manage the working class. Because only if you have worked with them, and that is a kind of a completely fractured society. So start from the school. If you ask me what should we do now, all these private schools should take at least 50% of the children from the neighborhood. Let the government pay whatever the government would have spent on them in a government school, not what they charge. And these people should train those children also, because they are on a land given by us, our taxpayers. This is the land. So it should come into force.